China is currently rivaling the United States for economic supremacy. But it wasn't that long ago that was Japan. So why was that? In 1945, Japan was in a complete state of devastation. Allied bombing during World War II, to include 2 atomic bombs, left Japan and its economy in ruins. Yet in less than 40 years, Japan experienced one of the greatest economic recoveries in world history. In 1950, the Nikkei, Japan's largest stock index, was founded, and between 1965 and 1980, the country's GDP soared from 91 billion to over 1 trillion. This economic miracle was largely the result of free market reforms after World War II. Japan integrated itself into the global economy by pursuing free trade policies, which enabled the resource-poor island to focus on manufacturing while relying on other countries for things like food and raw materials. By the early 1980s, Japan had the second largest economy in the world and was beginning to rival the United States. But all of this economic progress through production, trade, and innovation simply wasn't enough for some politicians. This is when they decided that what the economy really needed was more government intervention. So the Japanese central bank drastically lowered interest rates, while the US and Japan agreed on a currency manipulation scheme which drastically increased the value of the yen. The idea was that the Japanese would spend more money in the US, helping both Japanese consumers and American producers. But what actually happened has been described as the largest economic and real estate bubble in history, and it's not hard to see why when you consider these facts. During the height of the real estate bubble, a single square foot of land in downtown Tokyo could go for $139,000. That's nearly 350 times what it was in Manhattan. It was said that the Imperial Palace complex alone was worth more than all of the real estate in California. And one economist wrote that a single ward in downtown Tokyo could purchase all of the land in Canada. By 1989, the Japanese real estate market was valued at 4 times that of all real estate in the United States. Meanwhile, Japanese companies used the artificially overvalued yen and cheap credit to go on a massive corporate buying spree overseas. Mitsubishi bought the Rockefeller Center, while Sony purchased Columbia Pictures. In 10 years, the value of Japanese stocks ballooned from 29% of Japan's GDP to over 150%. Having opened the decade at just 6,000 points, the stock market closed at over 38,000 on December 29, 1989, to shouts of 40,000. But it would never happen. In the early 1990s, the Japanese price asset bubble finally imploded as real estate and stock market values collapsed. Japan slumped into an economic recession known as the lost decades. Yeah, that's plural. Why did it happen? Well, it turns out that artificial economic manipulation creates artificial economic results. Political meddling fueled wild speculation and economic decisions that probably never would have taken place without that meddling. When reality finally came calling, the cost of government interference was over 3 decades of stagnation that Japan has yet to fully recover from. And instances like this are exactly why economist and Nobel laureate Friedrich Hayek once said, "The curious task of economics is to demonstrate to men how little they really know about what they imagine they can design." I'm Nick Freitas with the Y Minutes, and thank you for watching.